The twin suns of the Varan Empire rose over the shining capital city of Lumeris. Its towers were made of crystal silver that caught the morning light and reflected it in every direction. The streets were filled with life, with citizens walking in neat rows and skycrafts gliding silently between the tall buildings. In the center of the grand city stood the royal palace, a structure so tall it looked as if it touched the sky. The palace shimmered with golden light, guarded by the finest warriors of the empire. It was said that within those walls lived the most powerful being in the galaxy, Queen Sarai of the Varan. Queen Sarai was a ruler known for her calm strength and her radiant presence. Her skin glowed faintly like fire under glass, a sign of the energy that all Varan carried within them. But even among them, her power was unmatched. She ruled with wisdom and care, but her heart belonged to one person more than to her empire, her daughter, Princess Alira. Alira was different from others of her kind. Her energy was wild, fierce, and beautiful. When she was born, the palace walls shook with heat, and the sky turned red for an entire day. The scientists called her the Flame Child, blessed by the ancient stars. But that gift came with danger. The energy inside her was unstable, and if it ever burst beyond control, it could destroy everything around her. For that reason, the queen kept her under close watch, protected by layers of guards and shielded chambers. On the morning of her disappearance, the palace was calm. The queen was in her chamber, speaking with her advisors about the growing alliance with the humans. The humans had joined the empire only recently after years of distant communication. They were a young race compared to the Varan, but they had shown courage, creativity, and heart. The queen admired them and believed that cooperation could bring peace between their worlds. Some of her council members disagreed, thinking humans were too fragile and emotional to stand beside the powerful Varan. The queen silenced their doubts with a single look, saying that strength did not always come from energy, but from will. While the queen was in discussion, Alira was walking through the palace garden. She loved that place more than any other room in the palace. The garden was full of glowing plants that reacted to her flame, their petals shining brighter as she passed. The air was cool, the sky clear. She felt peace for the first time in many weeks. Her mother often kept her under guard, worried that her energy might flare again. But that day she was alone except for a few distant guards. As she stood near a silver pond, Alira felt a strange pulse in the air. The flame inside her chest stirred as if answering a call. She looked around but saw nothing. Then the ground beneath her feet vibrated softly. Her reflection in the pond rippled and changed. For a second she saw not her own face but a shadow surrounded by faint blue light. Her heart raced. The energy inside her began to rise, heat building around her body. She tried to calm it, but the more she resisted, the stronger it grew. The guards nearby felt the temperature spike and ran toward her. Before they reached her, a flash of light covered the garden. When the brightness faded, the spot where Alira had stood was empty. The silver pond was steaming and the flowers had turned white from the heat. The guards called for help at once. Inside the throne chamber, the queen felt it too. The air around her trembled. Her eyes flared with golden fire. She rose from her seat and rushed toward the garden, her robes flowing behind her like waves of flame. When she saw the empty garden, she fell silent. Her hands touched the ground. Feeling the faint trace of her daughter's energy fading into the air, she turned to her guards, her voice calm but sharp as a blade. She ordered the palace to be sealed. Every door locked, every ship grounded. She said that no one would leave until her daughter was found. The command spread through the palace like thunder. Alarms rang. Soldiers filled the halls. Search drones flew into every corridor, scanning for heat signatures. The queen called her head of security, a tall Varan named Caro, and demanded answers. Caro reported that no ship had left the palace grounds. He said it was impossible for anyone to enter or exit without being seen. The queen's eyes narrowed. She knew her daughter could not have vanished alone. Something had called her away, something that even the sensors could not detect. When the guards examined the area near the garden, they found a single clue. On one of the outer walls, near the servant walkway, there was a small burn mark. Not from Varan flame, but from human technology. The scanner identified the residue as energy from a human shield generator, a device used by human soldiers stationed in the palace. The queen looked at the reading and said only one word: "Find him." There were few humans allowed inside the palace. Most were stationed in outer sections, handling minor duties and assisting with defense systems. Among them was a quiet guard named Ryan. He was known for his discipline and calm nature. He had served on several human colonies before being selected as part of the exchange program. Unlike others who often spoke proudly of Earth, Ryan spoke little. He was polite, patient, and observant. Some of the alien guards respected him while others ignored him. He rarely reacted either way. His post was near the Eastern Garden, the same garden where the princess disappeared. When the Queen ordered the check, the guards went to his quarters. The door was open. His armor was missing. The bed was untouched since morning. The guards looked at one another, uneasy. They reported at once to the Queen that the human was gone. The Queen's flames flared brighter for a moment, and she clenched her hand. To her council, she said, "Then we will bring back both my daughter and the one who took her." As the search continued, rumors began to spread. Some said the human had kidnapped the princess. Others said he had saved her from her own power and fled to protect her. A few whispered that maybe the flame inside her had chosen the human for a reason. No one dared say such things in front of the Queen, but the palace buzzed with quiet voices. Outside the palace, search teams spread across the nearby forests and valleys. The planet of Lumeris was rich in glowing flora that made night as bright as day. The air was filled with drifting light particles that danced like fireflies. It was a world of beauty, but it could also hide danger. Strange creatures moved between the glowing trees, and deep under the soil flowed rivers of molten energy that powered the Empire's cities. Ryan and Alira were somewhere out there. The question was where. As the suns began to set, Queen Sarai stood on her balcony. Her golden eyes looked over the endless city lights. She remembered the last words her daughter had spoken to her the night before. Alira had said she wanted to see the stars beyond the palace walls, to understand the humans, to feel free for a while. The Queen had smiled and said that time would come soon. Now she feared she had waited too long. In another part of the city, a small team of human officers sat in a secure chamber. They had been called for questioning by the Queen's advisors. The Varan officials demanded to know what Ryan might have planned. The humans defended him, saying Ryan was loyal and had no reason to harm anyone. One of them said Ryan once pulled 3 miners out of a burning ship and never took credit. Another said Ryan always spoke highly of the Varan Queen, calling her noble. But the aliens were not convinced. They wanted results, not stories. Night came, and with it the faint hum of search drones sweeping through the wilderness. In the dark forest near the palace walls, wind moved softly through glowing trees. A faint light flickered between the roots of an old stone arch. There, hidden beneath the branches, lay 2 figures. One of them was a man in silver armor, his arm scorched. The other was the princess, her body faintly glowing with orange fire. She was asleep, her head resting against his shoulder. The air around them was warm but calm. The fire that once burned wildly from her body was now steady, pulsing like a heartbeat. The man sat motionless, afraid to disturb her. His eyes stayed open, scanning the dark for danger. He whispered softly, "You're safe now." His voice was quiet, almost lost in the wind. The light from her body dimmed slightly, as if she had heard him in her dreams. The forest stayed silent except for the slow rhythm of her breathing. Far above, a patrol drone moved across the sky. It paused as its scanner caught a faint heat signature among the trees. The signal was weak but human-shaped. The drone turned its lens downward and zoomed in. The image it captured was clear. The princess of the Varan Empire asleep beside a human soldier, both unharmed. The drone sent the picture back to the palace. When the Queen saw the image, her hands trembled. For the first time that day, her anger faded. She saw her daughter's face, peaceful and calm, not in danger, and beside her the human guard sitting still, keeping watch through the night. The Queen closed her eyes and said in a quiet voice, "Bring them home." The search teams prepared at once to reach the forest. No one knew how the princess had ended up with the human or why her fire was no longer wild. But one thing was certain. The Queen's view of the humans would never be the same again. That night the twin moons rose over Lumeris, shining silver light across the forest. Beneath the trees, the flame of the princess glowed softly, steady and warm. The human beside her stayed awake, guarding her through the silent hours, unaware that the entire empire was already whispering his name. The forest around the palace was quiet in the early morning light. Mist floated between glowing trees, and the air carried the faint hum of energy from the ground. A small team of Varen soldiers moved carefully through the tall grass. Their scanner showed the same signal the drone had found during the night. The commander raised his hand and the team stopped. Ahead of them, by the roots of a glowing tree, they saw two still figures. One was human, the other was the princess. Ryan sat with his back against the tree, his armor scratched and darkened from heat. His head leaned forward slightly as if he had been awake all night. Princess Alira lay beside him, her head resting on his shoulder. Her hair shimmered like red fire under the rising sun. The glow from her body was soft, not wild like before. She looked calm, her breathing steady. The soldiers stood still, surprised by the sight. They had seen her power burn walls and melt steel. Yet here she was, resting quietly next to a human who showed no fear. The commander stepped forward and called out Ryan's name. The human lifted his head slowly. His eyes were tired but alert. He did not reach for his weapon. Instead, he raised his hands to show peace. The commander told him to stay still while they checked the princess. When they moved closer, Alira opened her eyes. The faint orange light returned to her skin. She looked around, saw the soldiers, and then looked back at Ryan. "It is all right," Ryan said in a calm voice. "They are your people." She nodded slowly and stood up with his help. The soldiers lowered their weapons when they saw that she was unharmed. They contacted the palace at once to report their success. The queen ordered them to bring her daughter and the human back immediately. The journey to the palace was quiet. Ryan walked behind the princess while the soldiers surrounded them. Alira glanced back at him more than once, her expression unreadable. When they reached the main gate, the queen was waiting. Her golden light filled the entrance hall. The moment Alira saw her, she ran forward and embraced her mother. The queen held her close, her usually calm face showing deep relief. For a moment, there was only silence between them. Then her eyes turned toward Ryan. The warmth in her expression changed to caution. "Human," she said, her voice steady. "You will tell me what happened." Ryan bowed his head slightly. "Yes, Your Majesty." He was taken to the council chamber where high-ranking Varen stood in a circle of light. The queen sat on her throne and Alira sat nearby. Ryan stood in the center. He explained everything as simply as he could. He said he was on guard duty near the garden when he saw a bright flash. He found the princess unconscious near the wall, her energy unstable. He used his shield generator to contain the heat and carried her away from the palace before it could harm others. He stayed in the forest because he feared moving her too soon might cause another burst of energy. He waited until she was calm and safe. The council members murmured among themselves. One of them asked how a human shield could survive the full force of Varen flame. Ryan replied that it did not. His armor had burned and his arm had been scorched, but he held on because leaving her alone would have been worse. Another counselor asked why he did not call for help. Ryan said his communicator had melted in the blast. The queen watched him closely. She could feel the truth in his words. Still, her people demanded caution. Humans were still new to their world and trust was fragile. The queen turned to her daughter. "Do you confirm what he says?" Alira nodded. "Yes, mother. He saved me. I remember waking up in the forest. My fire was calm for the first time. I think it is because he stayed beside me." The queen's gaze softened slightly. "Your fire was calm?" "Yes," said Alira. "When he was near, it did not hurt. I felt balanced." The queen fell silent. The council members whispered again, unsure what to make of her words. Finally, the queen said that Ryan would be kept in the royal quarters until further investigation. He was not to be treated as a prisoner but as a subject of study. The council agreed, though some were not pleased. Ryan was led to a chamber near the east wing. It was simple compared to the grand rooms of the palace, but still comfortable. He looked out the window at the endless city lights. The air smelled faintly of burning metal and flowers. He felt out of place among the glowing walls and silent guards, yet he did not complain. He was used to silence. When the door closed behind him, he sat by the window and tried to rest. That evening, Alira came to see him. 2 guards followed her but waited outside. She stepped into the room, her eyes bright against the dim light. "You are not afraid of my mother," she said softly. Ryan smiled faintly. "I think she has more reason to be angry than afraid. I was the last one seen near you." "She will understand," Alira said. "She sees truth more clearly than anyone." She paused, looking at his burned arm. "Does it hurt?" "A little," he said. I have felt worse. You should not have risked yourself for me. It was my duty, he said.
No, she replied, shaking her head.
Duty is not enough to make someone face fire. For a moment they said nothing. The sound of wind passing through the glowing towers filled the silence. Finally, Alira said, "When I was lost, I saw something strange. It felt like something calling me from the air itself." Have humans ever seen such things? Ryan thought for a moment. Sometimes we see things we do not understand. Sometimes energy behaves like a voice. Maybe something tried to reach you. She frowned. If it can reach me once, it might try again. Ryan met her eyes. Then we will be ready next time. The Queen later met with her scientists. They presented readings from Alira's energy field. The results shocked them. Her internal flame had stabilized after long exposure to human bioenergy. The scientists explained that human life force emitted a pattern of low but steady rhythm. It matched the opposite frequency of the Varan flame, creating balance. The Queen listened carefully. One of the scientists said, "If this is true, humans may hold the key to controlling unstable Varan power." Another replied, "That would change everything." The Queen remained silent for a long time. Then she said, "We will study this carefully. But remember that the human is not an experiment. He is a guest who saved my daughter." The following days passed in uneasy peace. The story of the rescue spread through the palace and into the city. Some citizens praised Ryan as a hero. Others feared that his presence had influenced the princess. Rumors grew quickly. The Queen decided to hold a small ceremony to show that the alliance with humans remained strong. It would also serve to calm the nobles who doubted her decision. On the morning of the ceremony, the palace was filled with activity. Decorations of silver and orange light hung from the walls. Human and Varan banners waved side by side. Ryan stood among the human delegation, wearing a new uniform. The burn on his arm was still visible, but he moved without weakness. Alira entered the hall dressed in radiant white, her eyes shining with calm fire. When their eyes met, she gave a small nod of thanks. As the Queen began her speech, she spoke of unity and strength through understanding. She praised both races for their courage. When she mentioned Ryan's name, the crowd murmured. Some clapped, others stayed silent. The Queen raised her hand and the hall quieted. "This human guard," she said, "showed us that courage is not measured by power but by heart. My daughter lives because of him. Let this be a lesson for us all." Ryan bowed his head humbly. Alira smiled faintly. For a moment the hall felt warm and bright. Then from the back of the chamber a sharp sound broke the peace. One of the energy sensors began to flicker. The Queen's guards tensed. The scientists nearby looked at their readings and frowned. A sudden wave of energy passed through the room, faint but cold. The Queen felt it at once. It was the same strange pulse that had taken her daughter before. She ordered the guards to scan the area, but the pulse vanished as quickly as it came. The ceremony continued, but everyone could feel the unease in the air. Afterward, Alira approached Ryan. "You felt it too," she said. "Yes," he replied. "It was like before, a kind of whisper." She nodded. "It wants something from me. I do not know what." That night, Ryan was summoned again by the Queen. She stood on the balcony looking at the stars. "You stayed with my daughter when her own power could destroy you," she said. "Tell me, what made you do that?" Ryan looked at her carefully. "Because no one should face fear alone, Your Majesty. I have seen people lose themselves when they have no one to stand beside them." The Queen studied him for a long moment. "Perhaps that is what makes your kind strong," she said quietly. "Not power, but loyalty." When he left the balcony, Alira was waiting outside the hall. She smiled slightly. "She trusts you now," she said. "I hope so," he replied. "She will. And maybe together we can find out what calls from the shadows." As the night deepened, the city lights dimmed one by one, until only the royal tower shone. Inside, Alira stood by her window, watching the horizon. For the first time in her life, her fire did not hurt. It felt warm, not burning. Somewhere deep inside, she sensed that her path and the humans were now joined by fate. She did not yet understand how, but she knew the universe had brought them together for a reason that was only beginning to unfold. The morning after the ceremony, the royal palace was filled with quiet tension. The strange wave of energy that had passed through the hall still disturbed the minds of everyone. The scientists searched through their data all night but found nothing clear. Some believed it was a malfunction, while others feared that something unknown had touched the palace again. Queen Sarai called for a private meeting with her advisors. Her golden eyes glowed faintly as she looked over the readings displayed before her. "It is the same kind of energy that appeared the day my daughter vanished," she said in a low voice. "Something beyond our understanding is moving in our world." Her chief scientist, a calm Varen named Solon, nodded slowly. "Your Majesty, the readings show a pulse from outside the city near the old power channel in the eastern hills. It is possible that a hidden device or signal emitter caused the surge." The Queen turned to her head of security. "Send a team to investigate. I want every corner of those hills scanned." At the same time, in the royal guest quarters, Ryan sat by the window reading a small data pad that contained human history. He liked to read in silence because it reminded him of home. He could see the city lights stretching endlessly beneath him. The alien world was beautiful but also strange. Every light seemed alive, moving in slow patterns like the flow of water. There was a soft knock on his door. When he opened it, Alira stood there. She wore a long silver robe that shimmered like starlight. Her hair, usually bright with fiery color, was calm and soft today. She smiled when she saw him. "Good morning, Ryan," she said gently. "May I come in?" "Of course," he replied, stepping aside. She entered and looked around the room. "Do you like it here?" she asked. "It is peaceful," Ryan said. "But it feels strange being watched all the time." She smiled faintly. "My people are cautious. They have never trusted anyone easily, not even each other sometimes." He nodded. "Humans are not so different. Fear makes people see enemies where there are none." Alira looked out the window beside him. "When you speak, it is calm. When I am near you, my fire feels quiet. My mother says it is your energy that helps me. Maybe she is right." Ryan turned toward her. "If that helps you, then I'm glad." She looked at him thoughtfully. "The council is not glad. They still think you changed me with some human trick. They are calling for a trial to question you." Ryan sighed softly. "A trial? I thought your mother believed me." "She does," Alira said, "but she cannot ignore the council. They want to test your loyalty. They say it is necessary for peace between our kinds." Ryan smiled slightly. "Then I will face them with truth. I have nothing else." Later that day, the Queen gathered her council in the grand chamber. The hall was circular, with tall pillars that glowed like molten glass. The council members stood around the center, where Ryan was led by 2 guards. Alira sat behind her mother, her eyes focused on him. The Queen rose and said, "This meeting is called to clear doubts between our races. The human guard, Ryan, stands here not as a criminal, but as one who must answer questions of great importance." Ryan bowed his head respectfully. "I will answer with honesty, Your Majesty." The first counselor, a stern Varen named Doran, stepped forward. "Human, you claim that you found our princess and saved her. Yet your presence near her disappearance is too convenient. How can we know that you did not cause it?" Ryan looked at him calmly. "Because I had no reason to harm her. I was stationed there to protect the palace, not to betray it. When she vanished, I followed the energy trail because I feared for her safety. If I had wanted harm, I would not have risked my life to save her." The counselor frowned. "Your words are brave, but words are easy." Alira suddenly spoke. "He tells the truth. My fire would have destroyed anyone who meant harm. He stayed by me even when his armor burned." The Queen raised her hand and the hall fell silent. "Continue," she said. Another counselor stepped forward, this one a female scientist named Vara. "Human, your body shows signs of unusual resistance to energy. We found that your cells adapt quickly to Varen heat. How is that possible?" Ryan thought for a moment. "I do not know. Maybe it is how humans evolved. On our world, we adapt to survive harsh places. Some of us live in deserts, some in freezing mountains. We learn to endure. Maybe that is what helped me." Vara nodded slowly, writing on her data pad. "Perhaps. Adaptation through survival. Interesting." The questioning continued for some time. They asked about his training, his purpose, and his beliefs. Ryan answered each question calmly and with respect. He did not raise his voice or argue. Even those who doubted him began to see his quiet strength. Finally, the Queen spoke again. "I have heard enough. This human has shown nothing but honesty. His courage saved my daughter's life, and his nature may help us understand our own energy better. The council may decide if further testing is needed, but my trust in him remains." Doran lowered his head, unwilling to argue with his queen. The meeting ended with no punishment. Ryan was allowed to stay in the palace under the Queen's protection. After the trial, Alira met him in the garden where it all began. The same silver pond shimmered under the sunlight. Flowers bent slightly as she walked past. "You spoke well," she said. "Even those who doubted you could not find fault in your answers." Ryan smiled. "Truth is easier to keep than lies." She looked at him with quiet admiration. "You humans have strange ways of speaking, simple yet strong." They walked together by the pond. The calm water reflected the twin suns above them. Alira bent down and touched the surface lightly. The water rippled and tiny sparks of flame appeared around her hand, glowing like small stars. "Do you ever miss your world?" she asked softly. "Every day," Ryan said. "But being here is a duty I chose. My people believe peace is worth the distance." She looked at him curiously. "Peace seems to be what you live for," he nodded. "Because we learned that war breaks everything that matters. We fight only when there is no choice." Alira was silent for a while, then said, "If more thought like you, maybe the stars would be quieter." That evening, as the city lights began to glow, the Queen stood in her private chamber with her scientist Solon. He showed her new readings from the energy detectors near the eastern hills. The strange signal had appeared again, stronger this time. Solon pointed to the graph. "Your Majesty, this energy matches the frequency of the princess's flame. It might be reacting to her presence," the Queen frowned. "If that is true, it means something is trying to reach her again." Solon nodded. "Perhaps something that feeds on her power." The Queen's voice hardened. "Increase palace security. Double the guards around my daughter. And keep the human informed. If her fire reacts calmly around him, then he may be her safest protector." Later that night, Alira stood on her balcony looking at the stars. The sky of Lumeris was filled with glowing rings that circled the planet like ribbons of light. Ryan stood beside her, silent as always. They watched the sky together without speaking for a while. Finally, she said, "Do you believe in destiny, Ryan?" He looked at her. "I believe we make our own paths, but sometimes the universe gives us a direction we cannot ignore." She smiled faintly. "Maybe that is what happened to us. I was meant to lose control so I could find something that would steady me." He nodded. "And I was meant to be here to remind you that control does not mean silence. It means peace." For the first time, Alira laughed softly. It was a gentle sound, light and warm. The air around them seemed to glow brighter. Suddenly, the peace was broken by a sound from her chamber. A loud crack echoed as if glass had shattered. They turned quickly. On the floor lay a small crystal device that had been hidden behind one of the walls. It pulsed with the same cold energy that had caused the earlier disturbances. Ryan moved closer and picked it up carefully. The device vibrated in his hand. Alira's flame flared slightly in response. The energy seemed to pull toward her. Ryan quickly placed the device inside a shield container and stepped back. "Someone planted this here," he said. "It reacts to your fire." Moments later, guards rushed in. The Queen arrived soon after, her eyes glowing brightly. She looked at the device and recognized the dark pattern of its energy. "This is not Varen technology," she said. "This came from beyond our empire." She looked at Ryan. "You found it. Again you stand between danger and my daughter." Ryan bowed. "I only did what anyone should do." The Queen nodded slowly. "Perhaps, but few would have seen what you saw. You have the eyes of someone who has lived through many battles." That night, the Queen ordered her fleets to scan deep space around their system. She feared that the mysterious force behind the device was connected to the strange pulse that had taken her daughter before. As the scans began, Alira looked out once more at the stars. Ryan stood beside her, his presence steady and quiet. She whispered, "If the darkness returns, will you stand with me again?" Ryan answered, "Always." And as the twin moons rose above the shining towers, the fire within the princess burned softly, no longer a storm, but a living flame guided by the calm strength of a human heart. The palace of Lumeris was alive with a quiet urgency that day. The Queen had doubled security, not only around her daughter but throughout the entire city. Guards patrolled the towers, drones scanned the skies, and energy shields surrounded the outer walls. Yet despite all precautions, a small shadow had slipped past their defenses. Ryan was stationed near the eastern halls with Princess Alira. They walked side by side through the corridors, discussing nothing and everything at the same time. The human's calm presence had become a steady comfort for the princess. She no longer feared the wildness of her fire when he was near. Today the halls were quiet, almost too quiet. Suddenly the alarms rang throughout the palace. Red lights flashed across every corridor, reflecting off the silver walls. Soldiers rushed in all directions, their armor clanking softly. The Queen's voice echoed through the communication system, sharp and commanding. All personnel report immediately. Protect the princess. Identify the threat. Ryan moved quickly, taking Alira's hand and guiding her toward a secure chamber. They ran through twisting corridors until they reached a reinforced room near the center of the palace. The door closed behind them, sealing tightly against the intruder. Outside, a hidden device had activated. It emitted a pulse of dark plasma that spread like smoke through the palace corridors. The plasma absorbed heat from everything it touched, causing Varen guards and even the palace walls to cool rapidly. Anyone with active flame or energy felt their strength weaken. The Queen realized the danger instantly. Her own energy began to falter, her golden glow dimming as the device's influence spread. She turned to Caro, her head of security. Locate the source. Stop it before it reaches the inner halls. But the pulse moved faster than the palace sensors could detect. The corridors near the throne room were already affected. Guards struggled to maintain their positions, some losing consciousness as their fire drained away. The Queen's advisors panicked. The palace, for the first time in decades, was vulnerable. Ryan held Alira close. Stay calm, he said. We can get through this. Alira's eyes glowed softly. The device reacts to my flame. If I burn too strongly, it will grow stronger. Ryan thought quickly. Then we need to control it without letting it feed on you. I can shield you. He activated his portable human shield, a small device he carried in his pack. The shield projected a dome of energy around them, blocking the dark plasma from reaching the princess. The effect was immediate. The pulse weakened around them, unable to draw energy from her fire. Alira looked at him in surprise. Your energy, it absorbs the plasma? Ryan nodded. Yes, humans produce a rhythm that can counter unstable energy. I think it is helping us. Together they moved through the corridors, heading toward the heart of the palace. The dark pulse followed, reaching out like fingers of shadow. Ryan kept the shield between them and the device. Alira stayed calm, controlling her flame carefully. The combination of their energies created a bubble of balance in the chaos. Meanwhile, the Queen gathered her remaining guards near the central atrium. We must contain the threat before it destroys the palace, she commanded. The senior Varen scientists worked frantically, scanning for the device. It is near the storage wing, Solon reported. It is small but powerful, designed to absorb flame from anyone with energy. The Queen nodded. Then we will neutralize it with its own weakness. Alira, Ryan, you must lead the way. Your combined energy can counter it. Ryan and Alira entered the storage wing cautiously. Rows of crates and machinery lined the walls. In the center, the device floated slightly above the ground, pulsing with dark energy. The moment they approached, the pulse intensified, reaching out to touch Alira's flame. Ryan activated the shield fully, feeling the strain on his body as the energy tried to pierce it. Alira focused on controlling her fire, keeping it steady and calm. The dark pulse recoiled slightly, unable to consume them. Ryan spoke to her quietly. Keep calm. Let your fire flow naturally, not out of anger or fear. We can do this together. Alira nodded, breathing deeply. Her hands glowed softly as her flame stabilized. The energy from the device reacted strangely, shrinking back as if confused by the harmony between human and Varen energy. The Queen's voice came through their communicator. Now, Alira, focus your flame in a controlled stream while Ryan maintains the shield. Alira obeyed. She directed a steady beam of her fire toward the device, not as a weapon but as a precise pulse of energy. Ryan's shield reinforced the beam, balancing it perfectly. The device vibrated violently, trying to absorb the energy, but it failed. With a final pulse, it exploded into harmless sparks that scattered across the storage wing. The threat was gone. The palace walls were safe once more. Alira's flame returned to its natural glow, calm and gentle. Ryan lowered the shield, his body exhausted but unharmed. Alira turned to him, eyes wide. We did it, she said softly. Ryan smiled faintly. Yes, together. The Queen arrived shortly afterward, accompanied by Caro and the remaining guards. She looked at them, her golden glow steady and proud. You have proven yourselves, she said, not only in courage but in trust. This is a lesson for all of us. Strength alone does not save. Understanding and harmony do. The palace began to recover. Guards checked the corridors for any remaining threats. Scientists examined the remnants of the device. They discovered it had been designed by a mysterious group from outside the Empire, one that had studied Varen energy for years. Their goal was unclear, but the Queen ordered preparations for defense against further attempts. That evening, the palace was quiet again. Alira and Ryan walked together on the rooftop garden, looking out over the city. The twin suns had set, leaving a sky full of glowing stars and ribbons of color. Alira spoke first. "I have never felt my fire so calm. I thought it could only harm me, but with you..." "It is different," Ryan shook his head. "It is not me. It is the balance we create together. Humans are not strong alone, but we can support others in ways they do not expect." She smiled faintly. "I understand now. Perhaps my fire is not just a weapon, but a part of who I am. And now I know it can be guided." Ryan looked at her. "That is what makes you strong, Alira. Not power alone, but control and trust." For the first time, the princess felt completely safe. The darkness that had threatened her life before seemed far away. And yet, somewhere in the galaxy, the group that had sent the device continued their plans, unaware that their schemes had been met by a human and an alien working together. The Queen's advisors whispered among themselves about the incident. Many agreed that Ryan was no longer just a human guard. He had become a symbol of hope, proof that humans could stand beside the Varen and face dangers that even the strongest could not. Later that night, the Queen summoned Ryan to her private chamber. "You have proven your courage and wisdom," she said. "I trusted you before, but now the entire Empire must see that your kind is more than allies. You are a part of our strength." Ryan bowed. "I serve not for reward, Your Majesty. I serve to protect and to learn." The Queen's expression softened. "Then continue and know that your presence here is appreciated. Your courage saved my daughter, and perhaps it has saved more than just a life. You have shown what can happen when two worlds work together." Alira joined them quietly. She held Ryan's hand, a simple gesture of gratitude and trust. The Queen looked at the pair and nodded. "Together, you both represent the future we must build. One of unity, understanding, and courage." The night ended with the palace resting in quiet security. Guards patrolled silently. Energy fields shimmered around the walls, and the city below glowed softly under twin moons. Ryan and Alira remained together for a while, watching the stars. The danger had passed, but the lessons remained. Trust, balance, and cooperation were stronger than fear or fire alone. And so, in the heart of the Varen Empire, a human and a princess stood side by side. Their bond was not just of protection, but of mutual respect and understanding. It was proof that even in a galaxy filled with unknown threats, courage and friendship could change the outcome of events, shaping a future that no single race could achieve alone. The sun rose over the capital city of Lumeris, casting golden light across the silver towers. The palace, once shaken by the mysterious device, now stood calm and bright. Soldiers patrolled with alert eyes. Drones hovered silently in the sky, and the citizens watched from afar, whispering about the events of the past days. The story of the princess's disappearance, the human guard who saved her, and the dark energy that threatened the Empire had spread quickly. Queen Sarai stood on the balcony of her private chamber, her golden eyes scanning the horizon. She thought about the events that had unfolded and the lessons they had taught her. Her daughter, Princess Alira, had faced danger and fear, yet had returned stronger and calmer than ever. And the human Ryan had proven his courage in ways she had never imagined. The Queen knew that the alliance between humans and Varen had changed forever. Alira appeared beside her mother, her hair glowing softly in the morning light. She looked out at the city with quiet determination. "Mother," she said, "Ryan stayed with me through the danger. His presence calmed my fire when nothing else could. Humans are different from what we believed." The Queen nodded. "Yes, Alira. Their courage is not in raw power, but in steadiness, loyalty, and heart. You have seen it firsthand. That is why I have decided something important today." Alira turned to her mother curiously. "What is it, Mother?" The Queen took a deep breath. "From this day forward, humans and Varen will train together. They will learn from each other, and they will protect each other. Your bond with Ryan is the proof that our races can work as one." Alira's eyes lit up. "I understand, Mother. But what about Ryan? Will he remain in the palace?" "Yes," the Queen replied firmly. "He will not only stay, but he will have a place among the Varen as a protector of our people. His actions have earned him that honor." Later that day, Ryan was brought before the Queen once more. She greeted him with calm authority. "Ryan," she said, "you have shown courage, wisdom, and loyalty. You have protected my daughter and the palace from threats that others could not face. I now offer you a permanent position here, not as a guard alone, but as a bridge between our worlds. Will you accept?" Ryan bowed his head. "I will, Your Majesty. I serve to protect, and I will continue to learn from your people." The Queen nodded, satisfied. "Then it is done. You and Alira will train together. You will learn to understand each other's strengths and weaknesses. Together, you will ensure that our empire remains safe." Alira smiled at Ryan, her eyes shining with gratitude. "You have become more than a protector to me. You have become a friend." Ryan smiled faintly. "And you have taught me the meaning of true courage, Princess." The days that followed were filled with training, study, and preparation. Ryan and Alira worked together every day, learning to combine human endurance with Varen energy control. Alira practiced focusing her flame, using it not just for power but for precision and balance. Ryan studied her energy patterns, learning how to synchronize his own protective techniques to harmonize with her fire. Their bond grew stronger with each day. Alira discovered that when Ryan was near, her energy remained steady even under stress. She could focus for longer periods and push her abilities further than she ever had. Ryan realized that the Varen flame, when guided, could do more than just burn. It could illuminate, protect, and heal. The Queen watched them train, a quiet pride growing within her. The council, once skeptical, began to acknowledge the humans' value. The nobles whispered among themselves about the wisdom of trusting humans, and some even expressed a desire to train alongside them. The palace was no longer just a home for the Varen. It had become a place where two worlds met and learned from each other. One evening, as the twin moons rose over the city, Ryan and Alira stood on the roof of the palace. Below them, the city lights glimmered like stars brought to the ground. "I never imagined I would be here," Ryan said softly, looking at the vast city. "Your world is beautiful and your people are strong." Alira looked at him and smiled. "And I never imagined I would find someone like you, someone who does not fear my fire, someone who can guide me without controlling me." Ryan turned to face her. "We learn from each other. That is how we become stronger." She nodded, her flames flickering softly as a sign of agreement. "Together we can face anything. I feel it in my heart." Their peaceful moment was interrupted by a message from the Queen. It appeared on a small holographic screen between them. "Ryan, Alira, your cooperation has proven invaluable. The Empire will celebrate your achievements today. Attend the ceremony in the Central Hall." They nodded and walked toward the hall together. The corridors were filled with citizens who had gathered to witness the recognition of both human and Varen heroism. The Queen stood at the center, radiant and proud. "Today," she announced, "we honor two beings who have shown courage, loyalty, and trust beyond measure." Princess Alira faced danger and controlled her own energy with strength. Ryan, a human, protected her and guided her through peril that none could face alone. Their bond has shown us that strength is not only in power but in harmony. The crowd erupted in applause. Alira blushed slightly and Ryan remained composed, though a faint smile appeared on his face. The ceremony was a celebration of unity, marking a turning point in the relationship between humans and Varen. After the ceremony, the Queen called Alira and Ryan to her side. "This is only the beginning," she said. "Your example will be remembered, and it will guide our people in the years to come. Together, humans and Varen can achieve greatness beyond imagination." Alira and Ryan bowed respectfully. "We will not fail," they said together. The next weeks were filled with training and collaboration. Ryan helped teach humans to understand Varen energy, while Alira guided Varen in controlling their flame with precision. The palace became a hub of learning and innovation. Ideas that once seemed impossible were now possible because two species worked as one. One morning, while training near the palace gardens, Alira paused and looked at Ryan. "Do you think other worlds will see what we are doing here?" Ryan nodded. "Yes, stories travel faster than we expect. They will see that humans and Varen can stand together and overcome any threat." She smiled. "Then our efforts will inspire more than just our empire." Ryan looked at the twin suns rising over the horizon. "In the universe, courage and understanding are rare. We have them both here. We can show others that it is possible." Alira's flame glowed brightly in agreement. And I will always have your support, Ryan. That makes all the difference. Days turned into weeks, and the bond between human and Varen grew stronger. They faced small threats, trained together, and explored the mysteries of Lumeris. Citizens began to see humans not as outsiders, but as allies, friends, and protectors. The story of the fiery princess and the human guard became a legend, told as proof that trust, courage, and cooperation could overcome even the greatest dangers. One night, Alira and Ryan stood on the balcony again, looking at the vast sky above. Stars and distant planets sparkled like diamonds in the darkness. "Do you think the dangers are truly gone?" Alira asked. Ryan shook his head slowly. "No, there will always be challenges, but we have learned that together, we can face them. That is what matters." Alira looked at him with quiet determination. "Then we will be ready. Always." The twin moons rose higher, reflecting off the silver towers of the palace. Below, the city of Lumeris slept peacefully, unaware of the legacy being forged above. A human and a princess from two worlds so different had found a way to combine strength and heart. Their bond was more than friendship. It was a bridge between species, a symbol of courage and a promise that even in the vast unknown, unity could shine brighter than any danger. The queen watched from her balcony, her eyes filled with pride. Her daughter had learned control. Her people had learned trust, and a human had proven that strength could come from heart as much as energy. The future of the Varen Empire was brighter than ever, guided by the flame of a princess and the steady courage of a human who had chosen to stand beside her. And so, the story of Alira and Ryan spread across the stars, inspiring generations to come. They had proven that courage, trust, and understanding were the greatest powers of all. In a galaxy filled with mysteries, humans and Varen had found a common bond, a friendship that would shape the destiny of worlds. Their journey had begun with a moment of fear and uncertainty, but it ended with hope, unity, and the knowledge that together, they could face anything. Humanity had shown its warmth, and the Varen had embraced it. The Empire would never forget the human who had calmed the fiery princess, and the princess who had learned that even the wildest flame could be guided with trust. The sun rose again over Lumeris, and in its golden light a human and a princess stood side by side, ready to face the future together.